What is that? It's a huge 8-point it looks. It is. That's a big 8-point. Something big just took off right here. And look at that. Huge scrape. That's where I think a giant's bedding. It is September 11th. We're back out here on Big Woods public land. And we're about to do a camera check on a place that I did not show you guys. It's a spot I figured out last year that's an overlooked spot, and it's really close to the road. I actually came in here a month and a half ago. Didn't record because I can't show anything for this area because it would just give it away instantly. But I was like 7 yards from the road. I found an old shed that had a main beam that curved straight down, very interesting. And I'm hoping that buck's still alive because if he is, he's gonna be old and he's gonna be crazy looking. But I had 2 encounters last year. I had one come in right where this camera is to 20 yards. And I was set up over here in one of these trees, and it came out to here, and it was growling and grunting, and it would not come that little bit. And then it got dark and it came out this way, and then I moved back even further to another, because this is a lot of bedding areas really close together of does, and it's insane how many does in here. Literally where I think this one buck bedding is, where this camera is here, where I had an encounter, he's literally watching the road as people drive by. But hopefully this camera is on fire. If there's nothing on this camera, I might move it and set it back on where I know is a great spot. And I scouted it. I found big buck crap everywhere. I found big buck crap everywhere here too. And I bumped so many does. But I wanted to keep it here because this is a known area that I'll eventually get every deer. But back there's where the better kill spot is probably. But it's just hammered in here now with tracks and droppings everywhere. But let's check the camera now. Hopefully we get that twisted antler buck. July 31st is when I set this camera. So 2 hours after I set the camera, we had a doe on camera. I hope she really likes this camera. Ooh, is that the twisted antler buck? It is. We immediately got him first buck. That's crazy. He's not as big as I'd hope. That's him. That's the shed we found. He's still alive, and he's probably better right where I said. This is at 7:30 at night. He's a cool buck. He's not very big though. Look at the body on him. Look at the feet on this guy. That buck is a brute. He is a huge buck. Maybe he's bigger than I think, because that body is insane. We have a small buck on 8.4. I'm glad they're using the scrape though. 5 days, we have 3 different buck on this camera already. And this spot is literally right next to the road. There's the twisted antler buck again. I think. No, it's not. What is that? That's a big buck. We have, it looks like a basic 10, and then this thing. It's a huge 8-point it looks. It is. That's a big 8-point. We have to, what, 4 different bucks now? That's a big buck. And I found a huge buck crap back at the other spot. So I wonder if he's bedding over there, which is where I expect most of the big bucks to bed, based on where it's at. Another doe. Fawn. Jeez. I don't remember seeing that buck. Looks like an 8-point. There's a basic 8-point, and there's a 4-point at midnight. It seems like most of the bucks are coming through, other than the twisted antler buck, which I think is bedding over here mostly. They're all coming through like midnight 1 a.m., which makes me think that other spot is where I would kill him, that big 8. I bet you we don't get that big one again, because he was really eyeballing that camera. The time I put the camera in is where they're going to be starting to roam to different bedding areas. So this is going to be a great spot, especially in that second week of rut where they're really running. Because that's when I had my encounters here last year, was the last 2 days. And it was like half hour before dark, they're just sprinting through here. So I just refreshed in the scrape. But to give you an idea if I plan to hunt this, there's a tree right here. You see a little pine branch sticking up. I plan on coming in this way, going up the tree and setting up where that pine branch covers most of me. I'll be able to shoot down into here, as well as all of this over here, because I just need to find a gap through that, and I'd be able to shoot into this scrape, or them just wrapping this like all the other deer did. It is September 18th, and I'm going on an adventure today. We have 2 weeks until season opens up here in Pennsylvania, but where I plan on going is going to be about an hour bike ride. But I came in with the mindset that I was going to keep an eye out on the way in, because if you find rubs now, it means the deer are in there now. We're on our first secondary stop here, and I could see this from the road, but we immediately have a big rub here, and this is the one I saw first. So there's another big rub here. Now that's a big tree. It's low to the ground. I don't really see any tine marks. So this isn't one that's gonna tell me it's a huge buck, but we have good rubs here. And I literally almost hit 3 doe with a bike 50 yards down that way. And there's a preferred food source nearby that I know of. And this leads out into a little ridge bedding that's protected by a swamp. And being that we have 2 weeks until season, I'm not gonna go and push in there because I already know what to expect in this area. I've never been in this specific part. I've been near here, but just by reading the rubs and knowing what's around, I already know how to hunt this. And I'm not gonna put a camera here either because there's just really no point. But it looks like we have a very, very old rub there that's healed over even. But it wouldn't be hard just to dip down over here and figure out where the main trail is coming off that terrain, and you would just set there because they're obviously going either bedding in the food source and then just traveling. But the way these are consistently in the same direction going out that way to the terrain, I really think they're bedding back there using the thermal from the swamps pushing towards them, as well as the thermals coming down their back along the ridges. So they can just drop down a little bit and use the thermals to wrap, and they come right up to where these rubs are here. We're gonna keep our eye out along the way for all this kind of stuff. I'm going back to places today where I've never been. It's gonna be remote. Now I found a place next to the road. There was a lot of clover growing. So I came in and I'm checking the area. I'm looking on the edges for any rubs, scrapes, any sign that there's buck in here. I'm not even finding buck crap anywhere. And while there is good trails coming in here, I'm not seeing any sign of a big buck. I'm not seeing scrapes on these pine trees. There's no rubs. There's no historical rubs. So even though I'm finding clover, it doesn't mean the deer actually want to come to it. They'd probably either eat the other browse maybe, but I'm going to loop in here a little bit and check it and then just keep on going on our bike trip here. So I'm quick checking another area that I have on my map that I'm not going to deep dive today, but I just wanted to see what was going on. But there is a crazy trail coming in here and it splits off. It goes down this old drainage here. And there's a scrape right here. And we also have what looks like maybe historical rubs back here on that tree there and this one here. Actually a bunch of these coming out this other trail. Yeah, look at these. You can tell these used to be rubs. Pretty nice ones too. Tick marks up here that are healed over a little bit. That's an old one. That's an old one. And they're all coming up the back side here. Looks like maybe down there too. But I did bump a deer on this back ridge. But there is a lot of trails, and based on how the terrain is here, this is a nice little thermal hub coming down. But there is terrain coming out here. There's terrain going out that way, and there's a lot of preferred knobs and ridges up here. And I marked this as one of my future places that I want to spend a lot of time in. This is one area I've been having my eye on, but it's a lot of effort to come in here, and for me to effectively hunt this, I'm gonna have to do what I did this year, maybe next year, and just deep dive this whole area and figure out what's going on, because I did a lot of biking and seeing some trails, but it wasn't, you could tell there was a very low deer density. But as soon as I got back to this area I had marked here, trails are bigger, there's sign, I bumped a deer. So there's a lot of deer back here. And I know like maybe a mile that way, there's a clear cut as well. So it kind of gives you a little bit of an area here where I also think there might be acorns back here. We have a lot of natural browse, there's a lot of water, there's a lot of terrain, and it's another stepping stone where there's a deer density here, and then over where that clear cut is probably a mile away, there's definitely deer there. So it's kind of, you have these little connecting all the dots of these areas where all the concentration of the deer population is. But we'll keep it in mind. If we get where we're not having a lot of luck in season, this is one of those places where we just say, screw it, put a stand on our back, go with our gut, go into and just hunt it. And after about 2 hours, we're finally back here where I want to be. And we took a couple stops, that's why it took so long, but we have a very mature cut that's really, really thick. There's a lot of swamps, there's a lot of terrain, and I feel like there might be 1 or 2 people that hunt this, but I think they're gonna stay on the edges or go up to the main, very obvious terrain that they would be hunting. And I am thinking that if a big buck survived or learned, he might be back in these remote knobs that are tucked on the edge of this clear cut that dips down to more terrain and swamps. So I'm just expecting, I'm getting back there now, I'm gonna try and scout it a little bit, put a camera up, and see, and I think that's where, if they're not there now, they might end up, at least when they're in this area. We are getting doe sign in here. It's really old and dried out, but this looked intimidating from the outside, but once I got in here on this terrain, it's actually pretty open and little tunnels going through this stuff. We have historical sign here. I found another rub up there too that's really, really old and healed over, but we got a good trail come right down the terrain, like I said. And this is where I would expect people to be hunting, in here. And this should lead us out and around. I want to get right on the edge of that clear cut once we get to the more secure backside of it, because that's where it seems like it's better terrain anyway for bedding, and get away from all these people that are hunting this sign that's closer to the access. And we're not even to where I want to be yet, but you can just see where the clear cut, and it's kind of lower here that they can go out and browse on it. So I'm expecting them to be better right on the edge of this stuff, maybe like 15 yards in where they can see down over. But this is really thick here and they can't see, so I don't think they'll be better than this. But on that backside, it looks just perfect. I think we're almost halfway back, but I saw something up here, got me a little excited. And no, it's not those two little rubs right here. It's the one right next to it. Working the edge of the cut. It's a nice rub. Let's see if we can find any identifiers. The tallest one's right here, it looks. I don't see anything else. There's nothing that tells me it's a huge buck, but we're getting into the bucks now. The further we get back to that knob bedding I was telling you about. Got some old crap right there. So we're up on a little high spot here, still working back. We got a long ways to go yet. You can see the clear cut edge there, and it's a little bit open in here. We have our first bed. Doesn't look very big, but it's just looking down over the terrain down here. This is very, very flat in here and a little bit more open and easy to travel than it's been. It was really thick for a while. Following a lot of fresh tracks, probably from whatever that deer was, whether it's a doe or a smaller buck. But we keep running into more fresh rubs the further we go down. This looks the same as that other one that we saw. Again, nothing high hitting. He's hitting over here a little bit. He's not hitting over here at all, so he's not super wide. Gives me an impression he's just a basket buck. But again, it's just heading straight down along the edge, and literally right from that other one again. Another one, and that's belly button high there. He's hitting a little over here. I don't see him really hitting up here at all. There's no time marks. I feel like that's the same exact deer every time hitting this. Whatever this buck is, it's very active, ripping everything apart. There's a lot of blue jays going off down that direction, far enough away that it's not because of me. So I bet you that deer I bumped dove down over that way, across. It's really thick and swampy down there, but it leads to more terrain, and you'll never guess. So we have more rubs. Nice rub here. But again, it's hitting up here, and that's it. There's no tines curling around, nothing high. This looks like a good area that he can go in and bed and feed. You can see it's like a little rolling through here. A little high spot up there, cover you can see down. But you can see they're just ripping through this, up into this little knob up here in the clear cut. Probably coming in here at night and browsing, or they could be bedding here. There's small crap there. Be really thick up there. This is the stuff that a buck would bed and feel safe, and then come out to the hardwoods right at dark. There's a lot of thick patches that they could bed on the edge. Over here, over here. But I don't want to go in here blowing this out. But even behind this stuff, you can see that it's kind of open, but really thick back there. Like they could just be roaming through this stuff whenever they want. There's going to be a lot of deer back here. And we got fresh tracks of something else in here too. You can see it all kicked up going through. Might have to stop videoing all these rubs. because you guys might get annoyed of seeing small rubs. Anytime we get to this area where it's like a clearing, there's like a little bit of terrain, it's thick, it's easy to travel, and they can browse in it, I immediately find rubs all over the place. And all the way out to those rubs back there, it's just loaded with doe in this little inside corner. And another rub. Another rub there. Another rub there. And there's one destroyed down here that looks like it might be different. Or it's the same guy. This is really shredded up. But again, same signature marks. Another one over there. And then we got a little corner coming out here. That's where all the doe sign was, and it's like a gradual terrain coming here, and this stops. I'm guessing that's where the does are bedding, is on this terrain in the clear cut. But I think the bucks are back here. You can see the terrain line coming off that inside corner. It's a side ridge that goes all the way out, and it's really thick. And we saw from the edge that it's vertically thick, but it's not really hard to travel through. So I can see does bedding all over that. And while the buck could still be in there, he's probably going to prefer to be closer to the edge where he can easily get out into thick yet open hardwoods. And coming right from that corner we were just at, this trail here is just down to dirt, and it's going right out the way we want to go. And I think this will take us where I got some big prints there too. I mean, it's hard to tell that, but that looks like a big print. You wouldn't have guessed it, another one of the same exact rubs. So we're getting close to those two knobs I was talking about, and there's a little low spot between them in the clear cut. But what made this spot pop out to me was that there's a terrain line coming in this way, and there's another terrain line on the other side. So it creates this nice little bowl, and where that terrain line meets another terrain feature that goes out. So we have that for bedding, this for bedding, the two knobs for bedding, the bowl for preferred thermals. It's an area where there's all this bedding kind of concentrates, and it comes down to an advantage with the wind. And it also has the food, it has water, it has everything they need. So it's like a little sanctuary back here where I think I'm gonna get a ton of different bucks back here. And there's so much historical sign back here too, but it's always the same looking rubs. Like that's an old rub, but it's the same thing. Belly button high with scratch marks. Nothing super high around it. So I feel like this might actually be a mature buck, because the amount of the identical rubs I've found back here makes me think that there's this one old buck that isn't very big, but he's probably really old, and he's probably very territorial, like this is his area. He's destroying this place. Nice sized tree, looks like a little side rub going on. Got a mark here. Nothing else. This is just perfect back here. This just feels like giant bucks. Look at all the food and cover they have. And you cannot get here from that way. It's impossible. Something big just took off right here. I was just about to video saying that down on the low spot I was talking about, you got rock walls going all the way around this, so it forces travel down here. And it's getting swampy because we're getting pines. So we're getting close to the water. I just had something blow out here, and it sounded like I heard tines hitting off branches, but right down in here, and it's cooler down here, so I wonder if something was bedded down here in a little thermal hub, staying cool. It's so thick in here. Right here is a bed. It was bedded right here and took off that way. It's a decent sized bed, but it's impossible to tell. It's still got hair in it. Yep, it's definitely the bed. I think it was a doe or a small buck. It's not a huge bed. Just bedding in a little thermal hub here. And it's so cool in here compared to everywhere else because of the pine trees and everything. It's a nice rub. Looks the same though as the other ones. There's another rub right there. I can see rubs in every direction from where I'm standing right now. There's a rub over here. I thought I saw a really good one down here. So thick. Where'd it go? I know I saw a good rub down here. There it is. same thing again though. Now we're coming into the first knob that's up here. We already have a very good trail here wrapping into it. I'm not gonna go out there just because even if I do bump something up, I'm not gonna see it. It's just so thick. You can see the trails going right up to it up there. But I think the other one's gonna be better because you can see how it dives down here. But over on the other side here is a very, very prominent knob, which would be one of those you just know deer are on. And all these trails on rubs I'm following should lead right to where that comes out. I smell a deer, and it smells like a buck. Because the wind's blowing straight in my face now from where I'm going. It smells like there's a buck up ahead. Man, it smells like pure musk. It stinks really bad. I don't know if I'm following it or it's just the wind. But there's a deer that really stinks back here. That's because we're getting right on the start of it. I'm trying to see, there's a lot of beech nut trees back here, but they all look like they're diseased. I don't see any producing. We got a great trail, so I was just too low. The trail was wrapping the edge a little bit. Man, this looks good. And look at that. Huge scrape. Freshly dug up, freshly used. No cameras on it, which I wouldn't even think anybody's back here. But you can see, we're not going to go up into it. We're going to go to the edge and look a little bit. Right there's our camera spot. That's where I think a giant's bedding. It's just a big terrain feature that goes up and around. And they can bed right in that anywhere. And it's a full prominent knob too, so there's bedding on all sides. But there's definitely does back here too. And there's that buck really being competitive. We got a trail right here just wrapping the edge. That other knob is over there, and it's very low lands through here, but it's probably maneuverable. They probably have crazy trails through it, but I don't want to go in there because that's their security. If I start walking in there, it's going to really booger them up. Alright, so we have the camera hung here, and right down to this scrape, and this scrape still stunk. When I went to refreshen it, whatever did it was very, very recent. I think that a buck will come in here in the morning. If he's going to bed in this spot, he's going to hit this scrape here. And then he's going to go wrap the bottom side of this using the wind to check all of this. And he's going to come around and come in the side of it and then go up and figure out where he wants to bed on it. But I think in order to kill this buck, he would be probably coming to this scrape. But I think he's coming down over here, down in. And then where this trail goes down here and wraps it, I think that's his entry into this. And I think this could be an exit or an entry as well, but they're probably on a different wind, but it looks like they come right down the edge here and then loop up. Or maybe drop down into the little bowl area down here. But either way, however they're accessing this, I do think they're wrapping this. I dropped down to get on this other terrain so it's easier to get out. We got a huge scrape right here. It looks like one was just kicked up a couple days ago over here. Yeah. Something's working this bottom ridge. And this is where I'm expecting a lot of the deer to be now. But I think when someone comes in here hunting, everything's just gonna push back to where I was. Just bumped a deer up, solo deer. It was right at the start of the terrain down here. It was right here, and it dove straight down over. But this is the obvious terrain that I was talking about. I think people are gonna be pressuring a lot of if they are back here. So I just bulldozed my way out. I'm getting close to being out of here now. It took me about an hour going down and using the terrain and just speed walking it out. So on top of a bike ride in, that is deep.